be a little careful over the next week or two. Definitely some warning signs out there in the market. And again, one thing I always say to people: get educated, learn. Spend 5 minutes a day just learning something about charts. It will change your world in 1 year from now. Interesting with Ethereum. Ethereum's hitting some resistance here at 2,000, which was that previous high before it recently broke above it. So it's got resistance at 2,000. There's a little bit of a level there. If it gets through that, then you have the double top recently at 21.25. After that, my next level of resistance isn't until about 2,500. Yeah, 2,500. So this is the key, right? So there's no doubt we topped out on the dollar last October. If you look at when Bitcoin bottomed, when equity markets bottomed, there's that correlation, right? When the dollar topped out, most risk assets bottomed. That makes sense. Gold bottomed as well. We've seen gold really rip to the upside. What we're seeing now is this breakage of this trend line, this upsloping trend line that goes all the way back to kind of the 2021 period. And we did break below it. And then look at how we broke below it. Then we retested the line, pulled back. So you are seeing stabilization in the dollar here. But to me, this is actually a bearish pattern formation. I actually do expect further downside on the dollar. I think it coincides with realization that eventually we are headed into a recession, right? So the markets are ignoring that. I mean, I've gone off on tangents in regard to this, that again, the markets and investors are back to the times of 2021. I mean, look at Pepe, look at Gensler, look at what Nvidia's done recently, Microsoft. I mean, money is flowing freely into the market, but there are, to me, warning signs, including that the Fed said there's going to be a mild recession later this year. So the gold chart, you did see a short-term breakout above this trend line right here. So that was a positive. We still haven't retraced to the all-time high, which would be a triple top since we hit it back in 2020 as well. So pivot top to pivot top. But to be honest, the way gold is acting, this is going to go a lot higher. And so again, a lot of people calling for gold to pull back. I think maybe a minor pullback, maybe down to this area, 1900, 1920. But honestly, I think this is going a lot higher. One of the things I say is that gold is kind of the pure play for almost any situation. Like if inflation stays high, even if the Fed has to keep rates high because of that, then okay, gold, inflation's high, gold's the place to be. If inflation comes down because there's a recession and maybe we look for deflation, well, if there's a recession and fear and panic, people buy gold for safety, right? We're seeing that with the bank crisis and so forth. So almost any scenario you play out, it's a positive benefit for gold. And you're looking at probably year-end 2,300 target, and then next year easily 3,000 on gold. Yeah, and it's possible even 5,000 within a couple more years after that. I do think that, again, one of the things I love to show too is if we go to our weekly chart on this and we go back to the 1970s when gold had that last meteoric run, the chart is so similar, right? So you're looking at a move here from 73 to 75 was up just like 2018 to 2020. And then you had this consolidation from 2020 to 2023 here, where again, same thing in the 70s. We went from 75 to basically 77, sideways to down. And then you had this mega sized run. And I think that's what we're starting to see now. We're just in the early stages of that for gold. And you can see what gold did. I mean, gold went from essentially $100 to $900 an ounce in that run. Now, again, with Bitcoin in existence, it probably doesn't get that magnitude, that 9x. But I think like a 2x, 3x is very possible from here on gold over the next few years. It's a situation where I think, again, if we are headed towards that scenario you talked about where it's going to be a really bad recession, maybe depression over the next 5-7 years, well, that works perfectly with why people would be interested in owning gold, owning silver, owning metals in general. You could even look at metal like copper. Copper could be a really good performer as well. Yeah, let's take a look at silver here. Yeah, so the silver chart looks great to me. Like, it really does look solid. You had the breakout of this larger wedge pattern right here, and now you're consolidating above. So that consolidation is basically digesting the up move we've seen, which means it's giving energy or preparing for that next move up. So I believe that silver will see an up move. I think this year we test this $30 level. The $30 level will be major resistance, but ultimately I think it breaks through maybe next year. But right now, yeah, I mean, this is, as charts go, this is exactly what you want to see in terms of bullish consolidation on the chart of silver. I think my target this year is $30, a retest of that resistance. Then if we get through that, then I think in 2025, 4, you could retest that high, but I think it would probably be out towards 2025 or 2026 before we take out that $50 level. And again, part of that too is keep in mind silver is an industrial metal. So if we do see that recession, that will be problematic for the price of silver, even if it is a store of safety. Yeah, let's take a look at copper here. So excuse me. So copper to me is actually flagging in a little bit of a short-term bearish pattern on the daily. Actually, that's the weekly chart. So I could see copper dipping down maybe back to like 325 before getting some traction and starting to move up. So you might say, well, how come gold is so bullish, but then copper is more bearish? And the answer to that is copper is such an industrial metal, right? I mean, like whether the copper wiring, whether copper for connecting electric currents, that's what comes in. So if we do have a recession, the early part of the recession, you'll probably have a reduction in the price of copper versus the later portion where inflation continues to be an issue where it would go up.